Next, we're going to take a look at the SSL channel's expander gate section. In the dynamics section, below the white compressor knobs are the green expander knobs. What the expander does is basically the opposite of a compressor. So a compressor turns down the volume of things that exceed the threshold level. So something that gets louder than 0 here on this knob is going to be turned down at this ratio. And the expander does the opposite. Things that fall below a certain volume are reduced in volume. So it's kind of like chasing the fade down. So if you have a bass with some buzz on it, you might automate at the end of the song to pull this down so that once the bass is faded out, that buzz is not exposed. You could do that automatically with the expander. So what you could do is say anything below -20 is not real music. It's just buzz, and I want to get rid of that to the tune of 20 dB. So I want 20 dB of gain reduction. You can see our green gain reduction LEDs here tell us that we are now reducing the gain. So this fader, even though it looks like it's up, is essentially down. It's down by -20. As soon as the bass player plays and exceeds that threshold, we're going to see the, let's see, here's how we can do it. We'll see the expander get out of the way, but until then, it's going to stay gain reduced. So when he plays, we'll hear it. When he stops playing, it will gently fade it out for us. It'll actually follow the music down. It's doing more than fading it out. If you just want it to fade out, let's say you have a snare drum that just has an attack and there's no sustain to follow after that. You just want this thing to fade the fader down for you. That's where the gate comes in. So on a gate, like for a drum, as soon as the drum is done, it starts this release time to fade to whatever maximum amount of expansion or gain reduction you're allowing. Let's say you have little ghost notes on the snare. You want to get rid of some of the hi-hat bleed on the snare, but you don't want to lose all the ghost notes. That's where you might set this to something like 4 or 5 dB. So you've got 4 or 5 dB less hi-hat bleed in between the snare hits, but you're not completely losing all the ghost notes like you would if you gated it hard like that. Finally, we have an attack button that does the same thing the compressor attack did. Fast is really fast, so if at the next snare this thing gets out of the way quick, no gain reduction, fast, lets the full snare through. On slow, we might lose the transient of the snare. The expander's not all the way released yet. It's still doing some gain reduction, and it opens quickly but not fast enough for something like a snare. Let's hear this thing. How would you use this musically? In the old days of tape machine, you had 24 tracks of hiss coming into your SSL console. The expander was great because it would get rid of the hiss on instruments that weren't playing. It would just mute those tracks, so you didn't have to automate all those mutes to keep 24 tracks of hiss. Or if you have like an acoustic guitar intro on one track, you've got 23 tracks hissing away. You can use the expander to take that out. In the digital age, we don't have tape hiss, and hopefully most of our instruments aren't too noisy, but you still might use this for musical purposes. A great example would be the under snare mic. Under the snare, we love the sound of that thing, but it picks up musical noises as well as unmusical noises. So a musical noise would be, the nice brightness that the under snare mic adds on a hit, and the ghost notes that it picks up. If a drummer plays ghost notes, it picks them up pretty nice. But then when he hits a floor tom, you really don't want it rattling the snare, or the bass amp nearby is rattling the snare. Those are quieter rattles, so hopefully we can set the threshold in a way that reduces that. Let's go ahead and reset our channel and listen to the snare bottom. We could say the range on our expander, something like 20 dB, reasonably fast release, and let's mess with the threshold till we started turning some things down. Turning down those quiet stuff. Here it got rid of all the things in between. Might be easier to hear if we load a preset that has some compression and it's really bringing up all the noise in between the snares. So now you can really hear it. Without the expander, we've got cymbals, we've got a lot of stuff in there that's not really stuff that we probably want loud and mono in our drum mix. Expander does a good job of cleaning that up, or gate. They sound almost the same in this case. The kick opens the expander a little more because it's a ratio. As the volume increases, it starts to release, while the gate's kind of an all or nothing. If nothing has exceeded the threshold, it's not opening. It's staying at -40 gain reduction. That's how that works.